Hey, I'm Harrison. When was the last time you had a deep, meaningful conversation with somebody? If it's been a while, don't worry, you're in the right place. This podcast is designed to open your mind to new perspectives and topics in the realms of health, personal growth, and, well, life. Welcome to the Let's Talk About Life podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Let's Talk About Life podcast. My name is Harrison King. Thanks for tuning in to another mini episode. We're going to do this a little different today. And past couple have been a little less fact-based, which I think is good. Change it up a little bit, but I want to do something completely new. I'm going to be calling these, every once in a while, we'll do a little life update. And this would be life update number 1, I guess. And what do I mean by that? Well, I feel like I don't let you in on enough of what's happening in my life. What am I doing? What am I working on? I'm sharing things that maybe you could be working on, but what am I doing? And I think it's nice to see the other side of things. And for me to just let you into a little bit of just a little info on what's happening in my life. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna chat about that today. So I get you up to speed, I guess. Some things I've really been focusing on in my life, and we've talked about it recently, is balance. And balance is one of the most challenging things I've found recently over the last year. And just for context, it's only been about a year since I've really dived into like focusing on my health and wellness and that kind of thing. Kind of when the pandemic started, I was interested in stuff before, and I was into exercising and getting up early. I enjoyed those kinds of things, but there's so much more to it, which I've realized. And over the course of the last year, we've obviously grown, and I mean the podcast, and I have as well. And what I've noticed recently and that I've been trying to work on the most is balance, because as somebody who is I would say falls under that kind of overachiever, perfectionist, workaholic kind of person. That's who I am, and I'm trying to work on that also. But that makes it hard to find balance in your life, and I find myself constantly not balancing things well, and like work. This is a great example, actually, to give you a little behind the scenes, right? This podcast, for you dedicated listeners, and again, thank you for checking in regularly. There's a set of dedicated listeners that I can see are on here all the time, right? And I feel obligated from my end to put out the content for you guys, and I'm like, I don't want to let anybody down, right? And this is where it becomes challenging. We're talking about balance, where I feel like I have to put out something, that we were doing 2 times a week this season. If I miss one of those, I'm letting somebody down. I'm not only letting myself down, I'm letting other people down, and it's this weird kind of conflict. So something that's what I've been trying to work on is balance and being okay. Just let go of things and enjoy and try to be as stress-free as possible, because that's really the ultimate goal, right? And if it isn't maybe one of your ultimate goals, I think it should be something you think about, because living a stress-free life is good in so many ways. I mean, it's stress is one of the main causes of chronic disease, and which then leads to other sicknesses and death and all these kinds of things, right? And obviously just stress is not good, but it can have so many, your mind has such a big impact on your body and all those other things. So if you can reduce stress, everything else will feel better too. So I've been trying to reduce stress and also balance all these different things that I've been doing in my own life. So the podcast is one of them. I've also got a new full-time job I'm doing on top of this, and I have a second podcast, which I've never mentioned before on here. So if you're interested in more from me, you can head on over, well, it's just anywhere you listen to podcasts, same places. It's called Why Didn't I Know That? And it's just me and a friend of mine, and we talk about things that we didn't know. We look up topics, we have a topic, and then we research something about the topic that we didn't know, a bunch of things, and we just talk about it. It's kind of fun. But anyway, that's a kind of little tangent. I've got that podcast. I've got this podcast. I've got things I like to share on Instagram. I've got, we're updating stuff on the website. I'm doing social media accounts for both of them. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff happening. And if you feel like you're doing a lot of things in your own life, then this is a good little maybe call to action to try to incorporate some of that balance, and how can you live as stress-free as possible. That's been the ultimate goal. And I have in no way mastered that, or even I'm still trying to figure out how to start there. But what's been working for me, or maybe not working, yeah, it's been working for me, but it's things I've been trying. Meditation, I've talked about it before, and I want to get into it even more with some experts eventually. But meditation has a big impact I've noticed, and people talk about it. You probably heard that it helps on a daily basis. But I've been, I think today was day 41 days straight. Yes Theory, if you don't know who Yes Theory are, check them out. They do 100 days of sweat, which I've been doing, which is like 100 days of exercise or movement I've been doing in a row. And then they also started 100 days of meditation. So that was on day 41 today. And why I say that is because this continuous, I've meditated on and off for several years. And I say on and off, like it'll be like I do it every day for a couple months and then I don't really do it much. The consistent meditation every single day, and I do it in the morning. So I wake up and you're not supposed to check your phone, and I don't want to check my phone, but I've been using Headspace because I just love it and not having to think about anything. And I'm going, let's just follow Andy is the guy's name, and he's awesome. If you don't, I've never used Headspace, highly recommend it. His voice is like none other. I think Andy needs a podcast. I don't know if he has one, but that guy is awesome. Anyway, using a daily meditation practice. I got off track. What I was trying to say is in the morning, shouldn't use your phone, but I am using my phone because I have it on airplane mode, so I don't get anything else. And I download the stuff I'm using on Headspace, but I do use it when I wake up to do my meditations. But I do them right in the morning. And I've noticed there was one day, the other day, a couple days ago, that I didn't do it right in the morning, and I did do it like later in the day. But for that like 3 or 4 hours that I was up before I meditated, I felt something. I felt different, and I can't even tell you exactly what it was that I was feeling different about. But just like it didn't feel as grounded or centered, maybe. And anyway, it's made a big difference. So that is something I've been working on and trying to continue with. So I get 41. We'll see how long we can hopefully make it to 100. That's the goal. 100 days in a row, and then continue with that. And meditation and trying to prioritize, what's important to me is a challenging thing to do. Because there's so many things that are important to us, and everybody else. Lots of people say, "Oh, my family," or relationships, or maybe it is work or whatever, those kinds of things. But we don't often actually prioritize those things, and I'm very guilty of this too. And this is what I've been struggling with recently: is the trying to prioritize the right things. Like I said, so this podcast I love to do, okay, and I know I say it all the time. I listen back and I'm like, wow, I said thank you so many times, but it's I mean it, because I'm really grateful for just having the opportunity to share things and have people listen. So thank you for listening. But this podcast takes up a lot of my time, and so it's hard to feel like I can go do something in the evening or whatever. But I've been trying to remember that the whole practice what you preach kind of thing, right? And that's what I'm working on. So you may be thinking to yourself, this is kind of a weird episode. This is not what I didn't sign up for. And I go, yeah, I know. It's something different. I'm changing it up. I'm just sharing some things that I'm doing, so you know what's happening on my side. So I want you to be aware that I am in no way perfect and don't know what I'm doing in a lot of aspects of lives. And the whole point of this podcast and things I'm sharing is I'm sharing stuff as I'm learning. I'm learning it and trying to implement it, and I'm just sharing my journey and things I'm learning, so it can help you. And whatever's helping me then probably can help you. And if there's ever something that you come across and you want to share, send me a message. And I'd love to hear that as well. It's a kind of a two-way street. So coming back to what I've been working on in my life, we've got balance and kind of try to live that stress-free life and prioritizing the things that are important to me. And as I've been reflecting on the year, we had a strange year, very strange year. And as things are starting to open up, I don't know where you're located if you're listening, where you're listening from. But here, things are starting to open up again. As of, well, this will be out Friday. So if you're listening to this on the day it came out, it's Friday. And then in 2 days, and on Sunday, where I am is going to be completely opened up. Back to quote unquote normal. No masks and anything. And as we started to interact with people and things again and chat with people, my question I've been bringing up to others has been, is there a lot of bad this year? Obviously, we acknowledge that, but what's the best thing that's come out of this year? And that's something I've been thinking about a lot, and I want to pose the question to you. You know, if you feel like it's been a tough year and there hasn't been anything good to come out of it, I guarantee you that there is at least one thing that you can be grateful for, or that's good, that's come out of this situation, because I really do think there's a lot of good to come out of this. Obviously, the death and sickness and the actual virus itself, terrible, right? All that stuff. And the isolation, those kinds of things are also hard. But for me, that was one of the best things. Was being alone with my thoughts and addressing who I am. And if that's not something that you maybe have had the time to dive into or not been interested in, I highly recommend trying to just really get to know yourself better. Because I've never understood that until recently, where it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm me. I'm me. What do you mean? I don't know myself. Like I'm around myself all the time. I am the only person that, like, what do you mean I have to get to know myself? But how getting to what I've learned is that it's getting to know how you operate, or what is my initial response generally to these kind of situations, and am I happy? Like, am I pleased that this is my initial response to somebody says something mean about me and I do this, or I disagree with somebody and I want to do this, I react in this way. Is that what I like to do? So once you start to really think about those things, you can start to hand pick and be aware of how you react and try to change those things. And that's something else I've been trying to think about and work on. So I'll pose the question there again, if you didn't hear it the first time. What's the best thing that's come out of 2020 and so far into 2021? Basically, since the pandemic started, it's a good thing to think about and try to figure out find the good in stuff. I think it's really important to find the good in things, because it's so hard. I mean, if you listen to the news, I don't listen to the news. To be completely honest with you, I stopped. Not that I ever watched the news or anything, but I used to check in on things. And when back probably a year ago, when every day you turn on the news and it was just numbers of things and all just this negative stuff, and not that I didn't want to be aware of it or hear what's happening, and I still am informed about that stuff, but there's so much focus on negative stuff. And it can be draining. And it doesn't mean we can't acknowledge that those things are happening, but it can be draining. So try to put your energy into the good, what makes you feel better. And that's all to kind of say, to circle back to what I wanted to say, is that my ultimate thing after all of that I'm working on is just trying to enjoy life and feel good and let myself not feel so restricted. The shoulds. We talked about the shoulds with Jen, I believe, Jen Miner Johansson, and the shoulds. We give ourselves shoulds a lot of the time. It's like, I should be doing this, right? I should be doing that, or we aren't really obligated to do anything. That's something to remember, and that I'm trying to remember. And I'll come back to this podcast here when I say I feel obligated sometimes to put stuff out, because yes, we've established a kind of schedule and whatever, but and I know that we've got a great audience here, that if I just wasn't able to put something out one week, I think people would understand, right? And it all comes back to that should, do you need to be worried about whatever it is? I don't really have an example to give you, but you apply it to your own life and go, where am I? Is there a place in my life where I'm feeling like I really should be doing something all the time, and you don't want to be, and it's taking away from that fun. So coming back to the fun, just try to have a good time, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I encourage you to as well. So that's kind of what's going on in my life, things that I'm trying to work on, and a lot of that has to do with things we've actually talked about this season. And speaking of this season, we are actually coming to an end at the end of this month. It's going to be an end of the season. Little, just so you know, warning. And as we plan for the next season, I want to, if you have any guests or any topics or things that you wanted to hear about, let me know. And I'm going to try to change things up a little bit. It's the third season. That's what I'm talking about. As that comes up and we plan for it and we start it, I'm going to change things up and do a little more of this kind of thing and just talking about life, because I don't think enough people do talk about the crazy things and the challenging things and the stuff that's hard, because I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea that on this podcast I'm saying this is what you should be doing and this is the right way to be doing blah blah blah, you know. For example, the morning routine one we did, and I made a point of saying this is the ideal maybe morning routine, but it doesn't happen all the time, and it might never happen all exactly like this. So all that to say that this episode's, I guess, a little bit of a going the other direction and saying I'm having a tough time working on some of these things as well. So you don't have to feel bad if you're having a tough time, because all of this is challenging. But the important thing to remember is that if you're trying to do it, you're making progress, and that's a win. If you're listening to this podcast, or you've found one thing that you're trying to work on, or you're thinking about, you know, and you're interested in this, and you're actually putting time and energy into thinking and acting on it, that's a win. It doesn't always matter about the actual maybe success or like how it's going, but the fact that you're even interested in it or thinking about it, that is something important to remember. Now also, you want to make sure you're doing a good job, and if you want to be healthy, which we all want to be healthy and feel good, then you're doing the things. But if you're finding it hard, that's all I want to remind you, that it's challenging to do some of this stuff, right? So that's all. That's all I got to say. A little bit of a ramble, but I enjoy the ramble, and I hope you do too. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed, well, this episode obviously is a little different, but if you're enjoying any of the other episodes, please share them along to a friend or family member or random stranger on the street if you really want to. But I'm trying to grow the podcast and share this information with other people and create a community, right? So thanks again for tuning in, and we will chat with you next week. Remember to keep loving life. We'll see you later.
For more information about this episode or the show itself, head on over to harrisonkingofficial.com. There you'll be able to find the show notes, transcriptions, and videos for every episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk About Life Pod. Now get out there and have a deep, meaningful conversation in your own life. We'll chat with you next time.